Guys, it is time. A game that on the schedule, when the schedule came out, you probably said, I shouldn't put words in your guys' mouth, but you probably said, yeah, Penn State should win this game. And now all of a sudden, it's a 7:30 kick at Beaver Stadium. Illinois is the 19th ranked team in the country. They're coming off an impressive overtime win at Nebraska, 31-24. And guys, I'm going to raise my hand and say that Joe Altmyer was not a name that I had circled as a quarterback that could be problematic for teams. But Joe Altmyer has been sensational for this Fighting Illini team. 10 picks, no interceptions. He won the Big Ten Co-Offensive Player of the Week award this past week for his 4 touchdowns that he threw against Nebraska in that overtime win. This is an Illini team that I think probably has snuck up on some people, especially maybe if you're not locked into the organization and you're outside of Champaign, Illinois. This is a pretty darn good Illinois team that's had some impressive wins. They've beaten Kansas, and Nebraska is their staple win so far this year.
I think this is a really gritty team. It'll probably be the grittiest O-line that we'll face all year, to be honest with you. Gritty O-line, they've been running the ball really well. You talk about Joe Altmyer, he's been playing at a really good level. I don't think this team is going to come in here and have a lights are too bright moment. I mean, I think they're going to come in here hungry. Brett Bielema is a great coach. I already saw him fired up in a press conference on Twitter talking about, they said it's going to be whiteout energy, whatever the hell that means. And, he's pumping that attitude into these guys like F Penn State. That's how he's telling Illinois right now. Like, screw these guys, screw what they're about, screw their whiteout. Like, we're going to come in there and ruin their party. And I'm very sure they're going to come in with that mindset. We're going to have to off-rip, set a tone. We're going to have to survive the first flurry of punches because they're going to have some plays dialed up early. They're going to have a trick play or two within the first 2 or 3 drives to try to catch us off guard for a touchdown, or whatever the case may be. So we got to be ready for all those things, handle them, and then put the pressure on them. But this is going to be a really good game and Penn State's first test in Big Ten play.
Yeah, I mean, couldn't agree more with everything that you both said. You look at a team like Illinois, playing at Penn State at night, a potential whiteout is going to be a crazy atmosphere. But you guys just got to think, they just went down to Nebraska. Nebraska, that's not an easy place to play. They went down there, they held their own, came out with an overtime win. So these guys, early in the season are somewhat battle tested. And as Jason said, I don't think this environment is going to be something that rattles them. Not to say, our folks still need to come bring that whiteout energy, everything that Coach Beckman has said, but our guys are going to have to strap it up. And as Jason and you, Tyler, said earlier, this is the type of game where those little mistakes can come back to bite you. We can't have these pre-stat penalties. I love Abdul's aggressiveness off the edge, but we need you to hold that back, wait for that ball to be snapped, and let's get after it. We had a face mask. Tyler had a face mask penalty. I mean, they're mistakes, but those are the type of if we're third down, we stop somebody on third down and we get to that, a 5-yard penalty or give them an extra set of downs, that could be the difference within the game. So I just think, I'm sure Coach Franklin is hard. Us three have been talking about it all season, making sure you play a clean game. Don't let, this game's going to be hard enough to win. Don't make it any more difficult on yourself to get through these games. But I still remain confident. I think our guys are going to be ready to play. And this is, as we all say, this is the first test of the season.
Jason, you bring up the offensive line that Illinois has, and I think they're kind of played in tandem with how good Altmyer's been. He's done a really good job of getting the ball out of his hands quickly, protecting the football. Like we said, he hasn't turned it over yet this year. And last week against Nebraska, he was 10 of 12 for 139 yards and 2 touchdowns against the blitz. So I think that the offensive line has picked him up a lot. He's had clean pockets to throw out of, and his decision-making in turn has been much better. He was a turnover machine at Illinois last year, and those numbers have dropped to 0 because of how protective of the football that he has been. And then you bring up the run game. I didn't know this heading into this one. They have 4 guys who have already eclipsed the 100-yard mark. And, 4 games in, that's only 25 yards a pop. But to say you have 4 of those guys, everybody else take them aside, that's minimum 400 rushing yards in the first 4 games. You get to that triple-digit mark, And Jason and Adam, you guys were talking about defending the run being a kind of a primary objective number one for most defenses. They're averaging over 100 yards per game on the ground. This is an offense that I think, like we use like the phrase, kind of is going to sneak up on people a little bit. But Altmyer's done a good job of getting the football out of his hands. They're protecting him, and the run game has been strong. This is a good offense, good Illinois offense.
Yeah, I mean, they got Fagan, they got McCray, two running backs that I don't think they're to the level of our two backs, but I think they got two guys that can tote the ball and that are confident out there that can pick up those 3 or 4 yards of play. So again, you got the more guys that an offense has, is the more defense has to worry about. So that's the thing, and I know Jason mentioned this earlier. That's the thing I love that Andy Kay has done. He has given Illinois a lot to think about. The various things that they have to think about this week is taking time away from other game planning that they probably want to do. So I love that standpoint. Even though we played at Penn State, he put a lot on film for Illinois to have to worry about going into the game this week.
Yeah, this is going to be a game that's one in the trenches to me. I'm very excited to see the matchup of our D-line versus that gritty O-line that I talked about earlier. I'm very interested to see our O-line hold up against their D-line, because against Bowling Green gave us a little bit of problems. Dylan Raiola got sacked about 5 times in that game. So I want to know, and 3 of them came in that overtime drive, actually. So I'm very excited to see how our O-line holds up. I thought Drew's pocket awareness last week was absolutely phenomenal. The best I've seen him play from that standpoint. Super calm, super poised, stepping up in the pocket, being timely, and knowing when to use his legs to run and things of that nature. His decision-making was very on point. I'm hoping to see, him continue that growth in this game. But this is a big boy game for us. You got to buckle the chin strap, bring your lunch pail, and it's time. Oh, yeah. It's time.
It's funny. Like, this was totally unintentional, but it's kind of funny when topics come full circle in a show, because you guys, you brought up the offensive, or their offensive line, or their offensive line versus Penn State's defensive line. And the one thing, inversely, Penn State's offensive line versus Illinois' defensive line. Illinois struggles to get off the field on third down. They've given up third down conversions on over 42% of their third down opportunities. It's 106th in college football. And this is what I'm talking about, the full circle moment. We talked earlier in the show about the difference in, or the mental difference in a 3-play burst drive versus a long sustained drive. Could you envision a more methodical Penn State offense today or this weekend? Keep Illinois' offense off the field, keep Altmyer on the sideline, and test that third down defense, which has struggled this year, and maybe have more of a lunch pail mentality, 3 yards in a cloud of dust before maybe something opens up. But you're ending up with 10-play drives, 12-play drives to keep that defense on the field as long as possible.
Hey, I'm all good with taking the Michigan approach this week. Make them stop us. Make them stop the run. Allen and Singleton until they stop it. But the good thing about us, we got a quarterback. Our QB can sling that thing if needed. But until that time, I'm like, hey, stop. You got to show us you got to stop the run before we start throwing the ball around.